to a brand new Mind Mastery video. Today I'm going to talk about intuition, or simply introverted intuition as is described in Myers-Briggs personality theory, and how it applies to INFJs and INTJs, and also what can we do in order to maximize its potential, in order to maximize its effectiveness, or simply how to tune in more to this process. So introverted intuition is about spotting patterns in our experience, making sense of what's happening to us, and also perhaps making some predictions for the future, because once we are able to see the patterns that occur in our experience, we can sort of start seeing where these patterns are leading towards, and also if we encounter similar patterns in the future, we will know how the situation or how our experience will unfold. So there are some minor differences between INFJs' intuitions and INTJs' intuitions because of the second and third function. So for INFJs, this intuition is more about people, emotions, feelings. So understanding people on this non-verbal level, on this very intuitive and very subtle level that can be fully rationalized or analyzed. It's also about building these internal models of reality, this kind of very private systems of how the world works and what can we do in order to change the experience. So we want to have these systems very coherent. We want these systems to make sense for us, and that can go into these unhealthy levels of so-called loops, the introverted intuition and introverted thinking loops, where we feed one function with the other. So we get an insight with intuition, we feed this insight to the introverted thinking, we start building models and ideas and theories and systems. And the very process of doing so will feed the introverted intuition, which again will provide the introverted thinking with particular insight. So this intuition for INFJs is about spotting rules in the external world that are based on our own evaluations and judgments. So we have these internal systems, and we want the external world to make sense, to fit these systems. If it doesn't fit, we're trying to understand it through relationships with other people, through understanding feelings and emotions, and exploring this nonverbal, sometimes even artistic world for some people. And by doing so, we feed our intuition that then provides more data and more information so that our systems, our internal systems, can be improved. So whatever INFJs are doing internally in terms of building systems and models of reality, INTJs like to do it externally. So they see the world as a playground for their ideas that need to be connected and coherent in a particular way. So that can manifest through wanting to control certain things in their environment, perhaps, in order for the system that they are building to make coherent sense. So planning, organizing, controlling certain things, because they project this vision onto their environment, onto their life, onto their own experience that needs to make sense, needs to be coherent, needs to be logical and rational. So in this situation, what feeds this drive to build the systems is not only the intuition that allows various information and data to come in and improve the system and this vision for the future, but also an introverted feeling. So what do we value? What do we want? What do we find as being important? So INTJs will evaluate what they're creating through this internal system of values and what feels right. So evaluating and judging the experience, other people, and all the pieces of the system that they can analyze in order for it to make sense. So intuition in this case is about spotting gaps between different information and between different data. So if something doesn't make sense, or if something can be improved, that's where the intuition comes in and can fill the gap. So essentially it's a very similar process to what INFJs are doing internally by using the introverted thinking function. Now for both types, in order for them to use this intuition, there needs to be space. So lots of space to reflect on the experience, lots of distance between their ideas and their experience, so that they can allow these unconscious processes to manifest themselves. Because intuition is essentially the unconscious process, a non-verbal process which cannot be fully analyzed. So usually this space is created by taking breaks from life, for example, distancing ourselves from our experience by, for example, emotional detachment, where we need to create that space, where we're creating that space through detaching ourselves and observing the experience itself. So in very short, this space is created by withdrawing from the external world, from the experience, into ourselves, where we have time to process the data, where we have time to process various information and obtain our models or our systems of how we understand and see the world. And probably that's one of the reasons why both types at times can seem a little bit distant and aloof, because in order for the intuition to function properly, again, there needs to be some space, there needs to be some distance. So in order to create a space, they will need to take a few steps back and allow these unconscious processes to manifest themselves, to feed our curiosity, to feed our drive for understanding what's happening, so that we can then apply it in real life, which for INFJs would be through extroverted feeling, creating various relationships, making the environment harmonious and making sense and feeling right, whereas for INTJs would be through this organized and very coherent systems in the external world. And lastly, both types use extroverted sensing function, which can be extremely useful to applying intuition to the real life events. So extroverted sensing is about being grounded, being in the present moment, and seeing life through sensory and concrete and practical experiences. So this ability is very useful to applying intuition, because it grounds the intuition in the practical realm, in the realm of our experience that can be measured and tested and seen and experienced by other people as well. So both types, if the extroverted sensing is developed enough, can use their intuition to apply what they are learning internally and externally, what they are playing with in the external and internal world, into this practical realm. So, for example, organizing the environment, using the intuition to solve real life problems, instead of going astray with thinking about things and imagining things that might not be very practical, creating various relationships, creating good relationships between other people, and essentially allowing this intuition to be connected with the present moment experience. So again, not going astray, not thinking about things that can be used or are not very practical in this very moment, but using intuition to guide our way forward from this present moment as we are here. So developing plans, seeing consequences of our behaviors. So all this planning and all this intuitive insights in such situation guide the person towards the future that is right for them, that feels right, that is logical, that is rational, that makes sense and fits into the systems that both types are building. If you've got any insights in terms of intuition or what I've been talking about, don't hesitate to leave the comment just below the video. See you next time.